Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the newly formed Oodua nation.
First of all, I'd like you to give us one very short message about the significance of this day, June 12th.
Well, it is the day that signifies the awakening of Nigerians to their desire for democracy and all the freedoms that democracy brings. So that's really it in a nutshell. It's a day when events happened that brought to the fore the yearning of Nigerians for democracy after several years of military rule.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There's some people that obviously know you across the world, but there's a huge generation of Nigerians, Yoruba, members of the Yoruba nation.
Hello, did you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I just thanked you. I said thank you so much for that. And I was going to say that there are some people that do know you across the world because we're being watched globally at the moment. But there's a huge chunk of the younger generation probably have heard the name Awolowo or Awolowo-Dosunmu and don't know you or never put a face to the name. Will be very wonderful for us to have you. Please let us know who is Dr. Ambassador Tokunbo Awolowo-Dosunmu.
Well, I am a 72-year-old mother, grandmother. I am a medical by profession. I was born 72 years ago in Ibadan to the family of Chief Obafemi Awolowo and HID Awolowo. Actually, it was a Wednesday that I was born, and I was born night. So Papa was about to leave for Owo. Interestingly, he had a case the following day in Owo, and he preferred to travel overnight. So just as he was about to enter his car, he heard the cry of a newborn baby, and that was me. I went to school in Ibadan. I went to a kindergarten school, children home school, run by Chief Mrs. Ogunlesi at the time. And then I went to UMC Demonstration School, which was a public school. And I was fortunate to be one of the people that pioneered the free education program in the Western region. I was one of the students at the time in UMC. And from there, I went to St. Anne's School in Ibadan. And thereafter, I was about to sit for a direct entrance into the University of Ibadan. But the day before the exam, I got a message that I should not bother to turn up for the exam because I was too young. That was the time when the Western region crisis was raging, and it was really probably at its zenith at that time. And so my parents decided that it was that my sister and I, my immediate senior sister, Mrs. Otumba Ayodele Shoyode, late now, that both of us should just be packed off to the United Kingdom. So we went, and I attended a school called Felixstowe College in Suffolk. And there I did my A-levels, and then I gained entrance into the University of Bristol, where I studied medicine. I graduated in 1972, and I came back home for my house jobs, and then I continued working at the UCH in Ibadan. I got married, moved to Lagos, worked at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, actually the College of Medicine, the Department of Public Health. And from there, I moved to the Nigerian Ports Authority Medical Division, where I developed an interest in occupational medicine. Then I went to the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, a school within the University of London. And I did a master's degree in occupational medicine and also did a diploma in industrial health. And I came back into private practice, after which, well, I was in private practice when Papa died. And that was in 1987. And then my career got interrupted because I was nominated into the Constituent Assembly at the time in it. And from there, I just got sucked into politics. And there into Awolowo Awolowo, set up the Awolowo Foundation. That's what I was doing. And I wanted ambassador of Nigeria to the Kingdom. After which, I decided to go back to my profession. And I worked in the UK for several years. Came back a few years ago, started back with the Awolowo Foundation. And that's what I've been doing, apart from helping to steer the Nigerian Tribune, the African newspapers of Nigeria. So that's who I am. That's what I do. I'm a very quiet person, very introverted, I think. Very reserved.
It's amazing
I'm
that
very
you
quiet.
just thank you so much, Ma, for that wonderful capture or recap of yourself and your childhood and background, etc. I'm sure there's been a lot of fun memories even whilst you were recapping. But one thing you just said now is that you're very quiet, you're very introverted and very reserved. Are you sure about that, Ma? You've got the Awolowo blood in your veins. Neither Chief Obafemi Awolowo nor HID were introverts or quiet. And being someone that has also had the opportunity to veer into politics yourself, maybe that kind of must have stripped you of the little quietness that you probably have been guarding all your life.
Well, that's how I like to describe myself. Other people probably see me differently, but I like to think I'm quiet, but sometimes when I have something to say or when something really irks me, I can't stop myself from speaking. So, maybe I'm somewhere in between.
And I would say that marks you indeed as your father's daughter. And talking about your beloved dad, I'm going to go on to my next question, which is about the Awolowo Foundation. We cannot talk about what we are obviously all fighting for today, to see an Africa and a Nigeria and a Yoruba nation that is properly governed and where democracy is held sway. We do know that the Awolowo Foundation has those ethos. Why was it set up? And what exactly is it that you do at the foundation and your role as executive director? So that's 3 questions in one, ma'am. Over to you.
Okay. When Papa died, I had no intention of going into public life at all. But then, as I said, I went into the Constituent Assembly. I was sucked into politics. I was in politics for a few years. And it dawned on me that Papa's legacy was of such importance, such significance, that it would be a shame if we allowed it to die. So I had, looking back now, the erroneous impression that I could carry on that legacy through politics, but that didn't work. But the feeling remained that that legacy was very, very important. And as far as I was concerned, Papa translated from a partisan politician to a universal idea on May 9, 1987, because I believed that his thoughts, his mission, his vision, his philosophy cut across party lines, because it was about development. Through the development, making the individual the centerpiece of the development program. And I just believed that any politician or any government official, functionary worth his or her salt would see that as the foundation, as a plank upon which they could build. So the idea of the Awolowo Foundation, and I thought that was a perfect way to reposition Papa and his ideas in a non-partisan way, in a way that it would be accessible and available to all shades of political opinion. Everybody and anybody who wished this country well and who wishes this country progress. So that's why the foundation was set up. And in putting together a board of trustees, I and a few others that were working with me at the time, we decided that we needed to cut across the entire nation, all nationalities within Nigeria, all shades of political opinion in Nigeria. So we had General Gawan as the chairman. We had Chief Emeka Ojukwu as a member of the board. Chief Abiola was a member of the board. Chief Bolaige, of course, was on the board. And some intellectuals were there. He's a chief, Professor Ladipo Akinkugbe, and so on. And we had even Alhaji Maitama Sule was on the board. In order that we could have access to all those networks, to bring them together to talk about the problems of Nigeria and the great issues of the day. That was why the foundation was set up. And mercifully, we got the support of the federal government at the time. We were massively supported by the federal government at the time and state governments at the time. And once it was set up, once we had the funding, it was now a question of how do we proceed. And I just felt that we needed to do what Papa used to do. Look at the great issues, the trending issues, the issues of the day, and bring people together from different angles to discuss it and perhaps come to a consensus. And that was what we did for many years. We had annual dialogues. We had a dialogue on the economy, a dialogue on the way forward, a dialogue on leadership, a dialogue on democracy and the rule of law, on poverty, on education, on health, name it. We had those dialogue here, lasting from anything from 1 day to 3 days. And we invited people from all corners of Nigeria and beyond. And we had the support of foreign governments. The British High Commission was supportive, the US Embassy was supportive, Ford Foundation, and so on. So it was, and we had annual meetings on the budget as well, analyzing the budget and so on. So, so that was what we did in order to keep this legacy alive, and in order to bring generations that probably don't know Papa to the knowledge of what he stood for. And as the years have gone on, it has become clear that our mission at this point is just to sustain and protect that legacy in such a way that generations that are coming behind can have the option of looking at it again. If it's dead, then they can't have a look at it. But if it's still alive, if at some point in the future, a group of young people who want to be in public office, want to engage in public life in Nigeria, feel that, okay, why don't we try a different approach? If they feel the current approach is not working well enough, Why don't we try a different approach? There's somebody called Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Why don't we look at what he stood for? And if they wish, then they could make use of it. Fortunately, Papa was easy to his legacy was easy to sustain because he wrote a lot. He was an intellectual. He was a thinker. He was a philosopher. He was all of those actually first before being a politician, in my view. Politics for him, in my humble opinion, was but an avenue, an avenue by which to actualize his thoughts and his projects and programs for people. So it was easy, and it's still easy. His thoughts are still there in print, and we try to carry on, just maintaining that legacy and protecting it. A lot of people might want to use it for partisan political ends, which is fine if it works for them. But we need to be sure that that legacy actually rises above partisanship. And it is something that that is still so relevant at this time. And as for myself, as an executive director, well, I remain the executive director. I pilot the affairs. We don't have a bureaucracy in the foundation. I never roots because I knew that funding a bureaucracy would very quickly become a problem. And so we worked on an ad hoc. Whenever we had a committee that worked on it, and once their work is done, that's it. And we've been very fortunate because although Papa was not stupendously wealthy, what he had was actually greater than material wealth, and that is the goodwill. And so people we've invited to work with us on programs and projects have done so practically for free. In fact, actually for free many times. And the rest of the time maybe just a stipend for their transportation and their living. In fact, we've gotten away with so much for so little. So it's been quite easy to do it.
Thank you very much indeed for taking us down memory lane from the time that you and the other members decided to set up the foundation. Thank you for explaining to us what the foundation really means. There's something that you said that I picked up. You said that your beloved dad, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, as we all know him, translated from this earth into a global idea. And immediately another person that has actually done that. In fact, I would say that he's probably in very great company, because we'll be thinking of people like Madiba, Nelson Mandela, who also, he was about fighting for his people. And he also did the same, thing and translated. Somebody like Mahatma Gandhi. The list goes on of people like that. Mother Teresa, people that actually took it upon themselves to ensure the betterment of their people, of their nations, and the world at large. Having said that, would you say then that all the ideologies that was inherited from the great sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, now focusing on Nigeria and especially the Yoruba nation, because you also let us know that you had quite a number of leaders, within Nigeria itself from the various states and regions that came to support. My question is, did the government of the day, obviously there have been different governments since you've been running the foundation, have any of them at all taken on board the great ideas and suggestions and advices that yourself and the entire group have come up with? Is there any one particular time that there was something you said, look, this is what we have come up from the foundation, or this is what we have observed? I would love you to have a look at it and hopefully implement it for the betterment of us as a nation. Has there been any time that something like that has happened? Because it's very important for us to know.
It may have happened, but I am not aware. I'm not aware that anything that emanated from the Awolowo Foundation has been embraced in government. I'm not aware. That is not to say that it hasn't been done, quietly behind the scenes. It's possible, but I'm not aware.
Thank you, ma'am. Now you have been drawn into the forays of politics, even though your first love is obviously medicine, because we always know that doctors and medical practitioners are born, not made. It will be in you to go into that, because it's a profession of caring and it's from the heart. And then you get yanked from there into the turbulent forays of politics. Are you able to just share a few things with us about the highs and lows, your experiences as both a politician and also when you became ambassador?
Yes. Well, my foray into politics, as I said, was through the Constituent Assembly in 1988 to 1989, and thereafter I ventured into partisan politics. I have to say that the sum total experience was traumatic for many reasons. Some of which was probably due to my own naivety and assumptions that I went into it with. But the reality was quite different. And so I ran into troubled waters in the most unexpected quarters, from the most unexpected people. But it was a learning curve, a steep one, but a learning curve all the same. And I'm grateful that I went through it. What I do know, though, is that when I emerged in politics, there was great excitement at the grassroots, the ones that I knew that to know me. They were very happy. I suppose they transferred the kind of love that they had for Papa to me at the time, and the expectation was very high. And I remember very vividly. I live in the mainland in Lagos, and during my campaigns, when I tried to contest for governorship in Lagos State, I remember there was a lady, she was hawking fruit, pineapple, pawpaw, and her entire her entire outlay, I don't think could have been up to 3,000 naira. I'm not sure. But she was passing by my house, saw the posters, and asked to come in. And the gate man was going to stop her, and I said, no, let her come in. And she came in. She put down her tray, and she emptied it for me. She was weeping. She was crying. And she said, she remembered Papa and all that he did. And if his child could do anything like that, they would be very, very fortunate, and so on. That I will never forget. I tried to give her money, and she refused. She refused till the end, and she left. The other experience I had was there was, I can't remember, there was some crisis. There were burning tires on Ikorodu Road, and I couldn't get back home. And I made a detour through Bariga and Shomolu